I've been contemplating Succession, and from the first episode, it crossed my mind that this aspires to achieve Shakespearean levels of entertainment. And I don't say that disrespectfully. And having just closed out the final episode, and I haven't taken my time with this show. I didn't binge it straight through the way I do with some shows. I really wanted to savor it, and also I guess it hadn't all dropped yet. But I must say, this truly has come closest to any serious television drama I've ever watched and analyzed. This has come the closest to embodying American Shakespearean level drama. And I don't mean that for the reasons you might assume, because I guess maybe some people right on the nose with it, with knowing what I'm about to say. But through my reading of Shakespeare, and I did study theater, I was a theater student. What the two bodies of work have in common, and of course, they cannot be compared for obvious reasons, but what they have in common is that they bring down to the level of every man and woman with a television set, or in Shakespeare's case, access to the theater, the gut-wrenching, mind-breaking, heart-destroying, I almost said rendering, but I think destroying is a better word. The heart, all those things. The lives, as we might imagine them from beneath the ivory towers of the extremely wealthy and unfairly powerful, as they rip themselves and each other to shreds out of sheer burning hubris, and makes it in that, what's that German word, Schadenfreude kind of way, a delightful and touching, and even in some moments of its splendor, moving entertainment for us, the plebes. Bravo, I say to them all. Bravo. I really, truly watched that show for Shiv and her struggle to allow herself to love while she simultaneously undermines her ability to connect. And it was with true remorse and sadness and a little taste of hope that I felt my guts churn for her and Tom in the final moments as they closed out the show. As for what's his name? His name escapes me now. The older brother, Shiv, Romulus, Kendall. I don't know what to say except I think we've all known that numbing pain of emptiness, of being ripped out from inside and not knowing what is left. And it is good to see the high and mighty brought low in a fictional setting And here is the secret to good Shakespeare and anything that aspires to achieve Shakespearean recognition. At some point, the audience of plebes and everyday women and men must feel some sense of tender compassion for these loud, thunderous fools raging at the sky with their empty power plays and their meaningless machinations of control and dominance, of greed and acquisition. We must know that despite the glorious accoutrement of garbage they surround themselves with, deep down they are not so much unlike us, the lowest of the lowly, for they can also bleed and die those little deaths of grief and suffering that we so often think we are alone in. I don't mean to acquiesce and bend over backwards to ignore their abuses. They must all be held to account. Mirrors must be brought up against their noses. And ultimately, it is that pain that will either ruin them, make them double down on their efforts of psychotic greed, or for once in their lives, let go the grasping of all these mortal, material, nonsensical toys that they fight over. And if any show in recent history did that in an eloquent yet approachable and not so hoity-toity or so cheesy of a fashion as to miss the mark, it was this show, Succession. And I was wondering what would happen when Logan's character met his demise and was no longer with the cast, and they carried it flawlessly through that momentum of his passing and the aftermath. So those are my thoughts, and I'll hand it over back to myself in the not too distant future live on the podcast.